Introducing the newest PC case from Okinos, this is the all-new Mirage 4. This micro ATX case comes in both black and white models to fit the unique style of your PC, and at only $62 right now on Amazon, it's hard to find another case that packs the same quality and amenities for that price. And while it may be small, this case has everything your PC needs. Room for up to a 325mm GPU, that means it could even fit a Founders Edition RTX 5080. It also has a super efficient vertical airflow layout, 2 pre-installed reverse blade RGB fans on the bottom, and one on the rear. Your GPU is always getting fresh, cool air for optimal gaming performance. Not to mention the case comes with an RGB hub, so all your RGB only takes up one port on your motherboard. This means cleaner and more streamlined looking cable management. And speaking of cable management, there's a surprising amount of space to hide all of your cables. With 2 separate spaces, there's no lack of room to organize your cables. The first space has plenty of tie-down points, perfect for holding your front panel and RGB cables. Even with a 180mm long power supply, you still have 60mm, that's nearly 2.5 inches, to route all of your PC cables. And don't think that just because this is a budget-friendly case that it doesn't have some of the niceties you'd expect from a more expensive case. For instance, it has pop-in panels that don't require any tools to install. It also has rubber grommets for your cable pass-throughs. This is a simple, cheap thing to add to a case, but nearly every cheap case leaves these out to save money. But it makes a big difference in terms of the aesthetic of your PC build. Here's another thing that I see a lot of in cheap cases: poor front panel support. You almost never see a USB-C port on cases under $80, but look at this. It has a USB-C port and 2 USB 3 ports. They didn't even cheap out and put a USB 2.0 in there. There's also a removable bracket on the backside that can hold up to 2 2.5-inch SSDs and 1 3.5-inch hard drive. Plus there's one additional 2.5-inch SSD mount on the front of the case if 2 just isn't cutting it for you. Now that you know the main features of the case, let's talk about what it was like to build inside of it. First of all, there's a surprising amount of room inside of the case. I did notice that if you had a really thick GPU, it might actually be right up in contact with the bottom fans, which means you won't be able to put a GPU support in there to stop it from sagging. Next, installing the radiator was actually really easy. There's not any flexibility in the mounting of it. You can see that it actually just has mounting holes as opposed to the slots that you would see in most cases, which was kind of nice to make sure everything was easily lined up, which can be kind of nice, but it also does limit a little bit how you mount your radiator. There's really only one spot for it, and thankfully it fits just fine. Moving over to the back side of the case, like I mentioned earlier, you've got this nice channel here for most of your cables, and then there's some additional space over here if you can't put all of your cables through this main area. One thing that I did find a little bit difficult if you want to use this space for all of your power cables was a bit of a tight bend to go from the grommet around over to our Velcro straps and then down to the power supply. That might just be kind of the nature of a small case, but that was a little bit more difficult to do. And overall, the cable management is pretty tidy. There is quite a bit of extra length in my power cables just because they're designed to be able to work for a mid or full tower ATX case. So there is quite a bit of extra in there, but overall, there's plenty of room. We didn't utilize any of the space behind this bracket or even up here, so you could fit a ton of more stuff in here if you needed to. And lastly, the RGB fans that come in the case, they look pretty nice. They're quiet. There's really nothing to complain about, and they come pre-wired into your RGB hub, so it makes it super simple to build. I think the only thing this case is missing is a really cool diffused RGB panel or strips over to the right of the motherboard. In most builds, it's gonna be unused space, so it'd be really cool to add that extra touch of flair. So all in all, for the price point, this is an incredible case. It seems to be really well manufactured. It was nice to build in, and with how small it is, you can put it on just about any desk. Huge shout out to Okinos for sending me this case to review. Hopefully you'll get to see more of these in the future. See you on the next one.